Abba Yahuwah, I just want to thank you, my Father. I thank you for this day. I thank you for everything that you are doing in our lives. You truly are sovereign. And just like the message that I had to receive from someone who sent me a message yesterday and said, the Father has a message for you, Natalia. And he says, I am. And I thank you, Abba, because you are I am. And that is who you revealed yourself to Moses when you came and you said, I am. I am. And if we really meditate on that I am, then it's not, he is not. He is I am. So what do I need today? What is it that I'm trusting for today? What is it that I see in my life today? What is it that is going on in my life right now? This is when Abba Yahuwah wants to remind us that he is I am. And Abba, just those two words spoke such volumes into me yesterday. For me to understand that I am is far greater than any circumstance that I might see around me, or I might be able to perceive with my mind, because I am is the one that will see me through. I am is the one that will carry me on eagle's wings. And so I thank you, my Father, that you have come throughout these plagues and you have revealed yourself as I am, because you spoke to Moses and you told Moses, I am Yud Hey Vav Hey. And you were going to reveal yourself to him, to know that you are the I am of the house of Israel, of those that you were going to bring deliverance to. And so I thank you, Abba Yahuwah, because we are in the time now where for those that are willing to humble themselves, you are the great I am in our lives. And even though there is great darkness that is upon our lives in terms of this world that we are living in, if I just think of this nation, oh my Father, it's not even a pretty thought. It's not even a good thought. If I just see what is going on around us in this nation, in the natural. But I thank you that you are I am, and that you are on your throne, and that you have the final authority over what you're going to do in the lives of your people, in the lives of those who are set apart unto you, in the nations of the world. You are the one that is seated on the throne, and you are the one that has the final authority over everything in the end. And I thank you, Abba Yahuwah, because as we come to the end of these plagues, you are going to reveal yourself as I am. You are going to reveal yourself to all these Egyptians, including the Israelites, that when you said that you would be the one that would deliver them, and when you said to Moses, I have called you to deliver my people, and I am with you, and I am the one that will put the words in your mouth that you are to speak. I am the one that will use you. Moses was going to see this in the fullness of what you said. And you are faithful. And Abba Yahuwah, I thank you that there might be somebody maybe listening tonight, or somebody that's going to listen on the recording, where they are at the place in their lives where they truly need to see I am, where they are at a place where truly it seems like they've come to the end of themselves. And yet you are the one that will come and hear the cry of that one's heart. Just like you heard the cry of the Israelites for more than 400 years, you heard their cry. So we must never think that you are early. You are neither late, you are neither early. You come at your appointed time. But one thing that I do know is that you truly will reveal yourself as I am to those that cry out to you, as you did to the Israelites. And you are going to make a distinction between those that are yours and those that are not. Those that are going to stay in the darkness from those that will walk in the light. Those that will have life and those that will choose death. And so I thank you, my Father, that you will come and you will pick up that one out of the murray clay and put their feet solid on the rock of Yahushua HaMashiach, the author and the author and the finisher of our faith, the one who is the deliverer, the one who has come to set the captives free, the one who will take us by the hand and lead us like Moses came and led the people out. And I thank you, Abba Yahuwah, that you brought us a deliverer. And we are like these Israelites, that many are so tormented by the evil demonic things that keep us captive and bound and in slavery to so many things that this world has to offer. But I praise and I thank you, my Father, because you are going to set your captives free now. For those that are crying out to you, for those that are seeking you day and night, just like these Israelites, so bound by their burdens, so bound by their slavery, you came and you brought them a deliverer. And you came to show yourself strong in their midst, Abba Yahuwah. And so I thank you, my Father, that that is what you are going to do for your people who are called by your name, who are humbling themselves, who are crying out to you. Reveal yourself to them, my Father, as I am. And so I thank you for this lesson, Father. I thank you that even though there will be much death upon the earth, you are faithful to deliver those who will cry out on your name. And if they have to die for your name's sake, they will see your face, just like Stephen that beheld your glory. They will see your glory. And so I praise and I thank you, Father, that death has no hold over us, not when we are in you. Where is your sting? O death, where is your sting? There is no sting in death, not when we have made Messiah Yahushua our Savior and our Deliverer and our King. And so I praise and I thank you, Abba Yahuwah, for this time, and that you alone come and speak to our hearts. Speak to my mind, speak through my lips, Father, the very oracles that is going to come from your heart. For you to be able to reveal to us the very purposes of your heart and the very depths of your heart for us to understand the seasons and the times that we find ourselves in. I thank you for your love, for your grace, and for your mercy. And even though death might surround us, we lift up our eyes to the hills, because where does our help come from? Our help comes from you, the creator of heaven and earth. And the sun shall not smite us by day, nor the moon by night. But you are the one that will hold us in the palm of your hand. And so I thank you, my Father. I thank you for this revelation that you are opening up to us, Father, in this hour, as you truly take us deeper in understanding this plagues, and as we look at this last plague tonight. I praise and I thank you for this in Yeshua's name. Amen. Amen. So, we looked at last week, we truly, wow, Father has done the most amazing understanding that He's given me in terms of this 9th plague and the darkness, and to understand how the darkness is creeping in upon the earth. And truly, what is the thing that in the end is going to bring death in the people? If they do not come into the truth of the light, if they do not allow themselves to open up their hearts and come into the light, then there will be a death. And it will not just be a physical death, it will be a spiritual death, because lies of the enemy keeps us bound. And so the 9th plague had to do with the 3 days of darkness. And so we worked last week through all the scriptures that really talks about how there's going to be a darkness that's going to come upon the earth in these last days. And darkness, we must understand, is not just a darkness that is a physical darkness. We can actually feel darkness creeping in on you. You can walk through an area and experience extreme darkness, because in the spirit you can experience the darkness. There are places that you can walk into and you can feel the light and you can experience the light, and there is a lightness of spirit and there is a presence of the Father. And there is an open heaven and you experience Father's presence. But there are other places that you can walk into that you experience nothing but death and darkness. And that is what I experienced last week, for me to truly understand this thing of darkness. And so we went to a place in Riversdale that happens to be a coffee shop. And this coffee shop is the old jail. And so we sat outside in the garden. And where the garden was, there was a tree, and the trees were filled with fruit. And the garden was beautiful, and there seemed to be a real peace that was there. And we were meeting up with friends who had invited us for a coffee. But then, from there, we moved from that place as we said goodbye to our friends. Elsie said, let's go in a little bit deep. Let's go look at some of these, because there were rooms inside there, and in every room it was, with this antiques for you to be able to look at if you wanted to buy some of these antique structures and, articles and everything inside over there. And the minute I entered through that entrance into the courtyard of that jail, I experienced the darkness. Now, the light was completely shining. It was a beautiful, sunshiny day. But immediately I experienced the darkness of the place. And immediately I started to hyperventilate as everything inside of me was experiencing the darkness that was around me. Until eventually I went into the room where there was a gallows. And this was the room of where the people were being hung in a gallows. And then the darkness became so severe that it made me sick to the very core of my being, that I wanted to vomit, because I could now sense not just the darkness, but I could sense the cries, the blood, everything was creeping on my skin. And so that is how the thick darkness that eventually will come, because evil is going to come upon the earth in such a degree that, have you actually thought of how it must have been at the time of Noah, and that the Father actually says, that Yeshua speaks in Matthew chapter 24 when he says, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man, when every thought and intent of a man's heart was evil continually. So imagine continuously every thought and intent of a man's thought patterns and heart was only evil. Imagine. That is the time that we are coming into, beloveds of the King. Because if that is what it says, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man, then you must understand the thick darkness that is going to be upon the earth. And you must understand there's going to be a physical darkness. But as much as there's going to be a physical darkness, there is going to be a spiritual darkness of where evil is going to increase, where you already come into certain places, you drive on the road and you see the lawlessness. And you see how people are just being lawless. They got no consideration for another person on a road. And this I have experienced certainly in Israel, especially there in Arad, when you're going down to the Dead Sea on that highway that's there. These people just overtake. They don't have consideration for anyone. They will overtake. And so it's utter lawlessness. So understand, when the darkness comes, it's because there's utter lawlessness, because Father's ways are no longer embedded in the people's hearts. Imagine when he hands the people over to their own evil desires, because their minds and their hearts become reprobates, and their thoughts and their intents are continuously wicked and evil. So do you understand why the Father is speaking to us in this hour and telling us to guard our hearts? Because from there comes all issues of life. Because if you don't guard your heart, the very thing, say for example, I need you to look at this and meditate on this, what I say to you now. Imagine when somebody has harmed you, or hurt you, or maybe spoken something against you, or whatever it is. How many times do you play that same thing over in your mind? How many times? How many times do you keep dwelling on it until eventually you want revenge for what it is that has been going on? How many times? Do you see why I'm saying? How the Father says, guard your heart. Because the more you're going to not guard your heart, you will meditate. And this is where the darkness, this is where we allow our hearts to become darkened. Because our minds will meditate on the things that is not of the light. That's why he says, casting down every vain imagination that exalts itself above the word of Yahuwah. And so that is why Father is saying we need to come into the light. Because you see, the lies of the enemy, the lies that the enemy speaks in our ear, the lies that the enemy continues to be able to make us believe, whether we believe religious lies, whether we believe lies that the enemy speaks in our ears to say, oh, you know, this and that, and you not worthy and you're not good enough. And look at this and look at that and all these things. And these things all build up within us that create this lie within us that darkens our hearts, that darkens our minds, that darkens our lives. And then light cannot penetrate. That is why the Father is saying, we need to clean the inside of the cup, and we need to clean the outside of the cup. We need to clean the religious systems that we have been walking in, and we need to clean the inside of the cup with our hearts, because if we believe the lies, we will be in the darkness, and the darkness will destroy us, because the darkness will bring the 10th plague, and that is going to be death. So let us pick up as we're going to start in Exodus chapter 11. For us to understand, if we do not walk in the light, if we do not walk in the truth of His word, we are going to be open for the death that is going to come. And this is what we must understand. That is the foundation that we were laying last week. And the 9th plague is the darkness, and the 9th command is you must not give false witness. There must be no lie in you. So the more the lies are there, the more the darkness we walk in. And that is why many are tormented by the enemy. If the Father is light and the Father is life, why do we speak death out of our mouths? Why do we always speak negative? If the Father is life and the Father is light, we are to walk in the light. We are not to be focusing on what the enemy is doing. We are to constantly look up and look to the Father and speak life. Because with our mouths, we produce life or death. Life and death is in the power of our tongues. So are we a person that speaks life, or are we a person that constantly speaks death? What do we speak? It's so easy to say, oh no, that is not going to be, we understand that there's the darkness, and even being a prophetic person whom the Father will show end times where great destruction and death is going to come. But you will never find one that is going to be able to speak only death without speaking the promises and the life of the Father, to say, yes, these things are going to be, yes, great darkness is going to come, but they will come to the brightness of your light, because we are to be the light bearers. And believe me, I don't have the time to go into the whole testimony now, but last week Wednesday I saw this manifest in my presence, when I sat there in a material shop speaking to a people. And as I was speaking to these people, I am sitting there, and as I'm speaking to them, I'm sharing with them about I was speaking about the very situation of, the teaching. The very teaching that we had of last week Tuesday about light and darkness and truth and all of this. And I'm sharing this with the people. And eventually the owner of the shop got her staff to come and listen. Eventually the people in the shop are stopping to buy or looking at material, because now they're listening to this message on light and darkness and truth and everything else that is coming out of there. They are listening. And now, Father, she turns around and eventually she says to me, look, you're going to have to look for your things quickly, because we've only got 3 minutes, and the next minute there's going to be darkness in the shop, because we got load shedding coming. And then eventually the lights went off and the load shedding came. But the Father had me speak the very word of arise and shine, for your light has come, for the glory of Yahuwah has risen upon you. And as I was sharing about the light and how we need to be the light, and the time has come that we cannot be sitting in church anymore and just being church pew members. We need to become the church. We need to become the light. We need to be able to no longer just go to church, but become the church no matter where you are. And this place is to become a lighthouse for the Father. It's to become a place of light where people can come in and they can experience His presence and see Him. And let me tell you, while all of this is still being spoken, the next minute she takes me to the back. I'm to write something in her journal, and I'm busy writing, and the next minute she walks in and she says, well, I just want to show you the miracle that the Father has just done. And she comes and she switches on the light. And she says, the Father has decided that today in this shop there will be light. So I want you to know that it doesn't matter what situations are, how dark in your life. When the Father wants to put light, He will go against any power surges. He will go against any load shedding, and He will bring light in the situation when He wants to bring light, so that He could let those people know in that shop who He is, and that He's the one that is wanting to do a work in their lives. And He will bring light to reveal Himself. And this is exactly what we are going to see. By the 10th plague, the Father is going to reveal Himself. And this is what I want you to understand. For the time that we are in now, it's going to be a time of where the Father is going to reveal Himself. You do not need to strive. You do not need to try and force an issue. Father is the one who's on His throne, and He's the one who's going to make it all plan out. If He said it, I tell you now, He will do it. It might not be in your time, but I tell you now, He will do it. He is I am. And there was the rest of the shops around in darkness. And this shop had light, supernatural light. And I have had this before. Because I have had a time when I was ministering to a young man, a drug addict that came into my house, and I had to minister to this man. And the Father brought him, and he said, Natalia, you have to bring deliverance to my child. I said, me? I'm not the deliverer. My son cannot leave here the same. I'm bringing him to you, and you are the one that's going to have to set him free. I thought, my goodness, you got to be joking. So I seek the Father, and the Father said to me, sin is knocking at His door, and He has the authority to master over it. But that day, Father said to me, draw a line in the sand, like you draw a line, and say, this day, make a decision to come and follow Him. And when we came outside, I know we were supposed to have had load shedding, and I found it very strange because we still had light, and I was able to minister to this young man. And it was just shortly after they had arrived there that the lights were supposed to have been off, so we would have been in total darkness for me to try and speak to this man and share with this man and pray for this man. But when we got outside, the whole street was in darkness, but my house had light. And the Father wanted to reveal Himself to that young man that day. To show this young man that, you see, when the Father wants to reveal Himself, He will reveal Himself for you to know who He is. And so He will allow many things in your life, and He will allow you to go through many situations, and you might not understand exactly what you're going through, but there will come a time that He's going to reveal Himself as the great I am. There's the one who's been working in your life all along that you didn't see, but He is working in your situation for His glory, even though right now you may not see it. And this is what the Father is doing with these Israelites. And this is what He's doing with these Egyptians and this Pharaoh. This arrogant man that thinks he is a god. He's become the god of these Egyptians. They bow and worship him. And the Father is going to make an example of this nation to the nations of the world, and so that Moses may know who he is, and so that these Israelites may know who he is, and so that the rest of the nations of the world will know who he is. And so I tell you that in these end times, Father is going to make himself known. People are not just going to need to be preached to. They're going to see it for themselves. I tell you now, there's no person that was in that shop that did not have an encounter with the Father that day to say, how on earth is these lights over here on? How on earth? And they will know that He's the great I Am. And that is what He's doing in the hour that we are in. He will reveal Himself. So we continue to read. We read in Exodus chapter 11 from verses 1. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, I am bringing yet one more plague on Pharaoh and on Mitzrayim, and that he is going to let you go from here. When he lets you go, he shall drive you out from here altogether. Speak now in the hearing of the people, and let every man ask from his neighbor, and every woman from her neighbor, objects of silver and objects of gold. Now you must understand, in the time of this great darkness, Father will be able to bring the wealth of the nations, and He's going to bring the wealth of the wicked to be laid up for the righteous. Because we must understand, Father is going to bring one last plague. Father is going to bring great darkness. Great darkness is coming upon the earth. Great destruction is coming upon the earth. But I need you to understand that on the one hand there is destruction, but on the other hand, Father is still got a purpose and a plan to be able to deliver His people. And so you must understand, the Father by this time has sent how many plagues? There is one more final plague. There is one more final plague that's coming, and Moshe is going to stand before this Pharaoh. Yet the Pharaoh will not listen. And so what I say to you today, how many more signs do you need? How many more warnings do you need? How many more times do you need the Father to speak to you before you finally going to get the message that, is it going to have to bring death? What is it going to have to take? For us to humble our knees and come back to Him. And so that is why the Father, you must understand, Father is not, He's not a man. He is the creator of the universe, and Father is so loving and so merciful. If you do not see the Father as being loving and merciful, then I don't know, then there's something seriously wrong with you. Because He is so loving and so merciful. How many chances does He keep giving? He continues to pick us up. He continues to love us. He continues to warn us. He continues to dust us off and pick us up and let us go again. And then we fall, and then He dusts us, and then He picks us up, and then we go again, and then we fall again. And He is so merciful because He understands that we are mere flesh. And He understands that in this flesh man there is no good thing. And praise Abba Yahuwah. That is why He gave us Yahushua, our Messiah, and that is why we look to Him and Him alone, who is the one who will pick us up and put our feet solid on Him, so that we will not be moved in the time of destruction. And so that is why Father will continue to bring many warnings. Before He brings the death, He will not just bring death, He will bring many warnings before He brings the death. And so we must understand, in the time of the greatest darkness, Abba is going to bring the transfer of the wealth. So that when we enter into that place of where He's got for us to enter, we do not just enter without having anything, but we are going to enter with the wealth that He's going to give us. But I need you to understand something. When the Father brings the great transfer of wealth, the wealth is not for you and for your own enrichment. So they were going to get items of silver and items of gold. They didn't understand, thinking, well, now we're going to enter into the promised land with all this wealth. But what was the Father going to do? They were going to enter into the land, and they were going to bring the wealth that was going to come. But you see, the mistake that many of us make is that we think the wealth is for ourselves. Yet, what we do not understand is that Abba was needing it for His purpose and His plan. because he was going to need to build a tabernacle. He was going to be able to need to build for himself many items that he was going to need for his tabernacle, and therefore he was going to require the silver and the gold. The silver is mine and the gold is mine. And they were going to leave. So now in these end times, we have heard much about the transfer of the wealth. And the Father wants to bring the transfer of the wealth. And the reason why he had not been able to do it and has not been able to do it is because the people's hearts were still not right. Because at the end of the day, if it's going to be about our enrichment of ourselves, and that is part of what we're going to understand tonight in terms of the 10th commandment, because we covet the things of this world to enrich ourselves. And meantime, the Father was wanting them to not leave empty-handed because he had a plan. And so when he starts to bring the wealth, it's for the purpose of building up the kingdom. Because the Father has a plan for the poor, for the broken, for the needy, for the upliftment of those that have been, like these Israelites, in bondage. So that he can bring a distribution that needs to take place to be able to uplift communities. But we don't always understand the picture. We don't always understand the bigger plan. So then we look at verse 3 and he says, and Yahuwah gave the people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrites, and the man Moshe was very great in the land of Mitzrayim, in the eyes of the Pharaoh's servants and in the eyes of the people. So by this time you must understand, Father, when you humble, and if you are a humble man like Moses was a humble man, he will lift you up. And to be humble means to be obedient. You need to be obedient to the Father. Moses went through much difficulty. I tell you, it was not easy to be in Moses' shoes. Can you imagine being in Moses' shoes? Having how many? 2 million or more people complaining and moaning. My goodness, I don't know how he endured. And Moshe said, thus said Yahuwah, about midnight I am going out into the midst of Mitzrayim. And all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim shall die, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the female servant who sits behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of cattle. Wow. This was the first time that, having read this, goodness knows how many times, this is the first time I actually saw, and the firstborn of the cattle. I've always understood that it was the firstborn of the Mitzrites, but even the firstborn of the female servants and of the cattle. And so we must understand that the firstborn of the cattle and the firstborn of the children of Mitzrayim, what is the Father showing here? And the cattle. So you must understand that the Father is the one that created man and he created beast. On the 6th day of creation, Father created man and Father created beast. So if we go look at Genesis chapter 1, and we will just go there quickly and have a look at Genesis chapter 1. We've already covered this when we did the 6th plague, but we are going to look at this again because this is all going to tie in so beautifully. And it says, Yahuwah said, let the earth bring forth the living being according to its kind, livestock, creeping creatures, and beasts of the earth according to its kind, and it came to be so. So remember, we are still looking at these plagues and tying them back to the days of creation. So this plague is again being tied back to the day of creation of the 6th day of creation. Because on the sixth day of creation, he created man and he created beast. And it says, and the Lord made beast of the earth, and according to its kind, livestock according to its kind, and all the creeping on the earth according to its kind. And the Lord saw that it was good. And the Lord said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over the earth, and over all creeping creatures that creep on the ground. And the Lord created the man in his image, and in the image of the Lord he created him, male and female he created them. And the Lord blessed them, and the Lord said to them, be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, over all the creeping creatures on the earth. And so we see that in verse 31 he says, Elohim saw all that he had made, and see it was very good, and there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the sixth day. So interesting, man created on the sixth day, and on the sixth day he created man and beast. And on this 10th plague, he is going to show mankind that he is the creator of both man and beast. Because you want to make beast an idol, you want to make the calf, this very cattle, you make them God. Because why were the Israelites not able to take their cattle out, well, not able to take their animals out? Because they wanted to go and worship him and sacrifice to him, and that would have been sacrilege in the eyes of the Mitzrites, because to them it was seen as a god. And now the Father is going to show them, to say, now I am the one who's created man. I am the one who is the creator. I am the one who's created man. I am the one that will take your life when I need to take it. I am the one who created the cattle, and I am the one that takes their life when I need to take it. You will no longer make an idol out of it. You will no longer worship it. You will no longer make idols out of man, because man is not your God. I am Yahuwah. I am the one who gives life, and I am the one who takes life. I am the one who created man. I am the one that will kill man. I am the one who created the cattle, and I am the one who will kill the cattle. And this is what is going to make it very clear now in the last plague. Because in the sixth plague, he came against man and beast again, man and cattle, and he came against them with the boils, because he was coming up against their god, Isis, the god that was the god of your medicine. And if we understand the sixth plague, thou shalt not kill, is the sixth plague, the sixth command. Thou shalt not commit murder. Thou shalt not kill. Because I am the one that has the power to do that. I am the one that breathes life into you, and I am the one that takes life when I need to take life. That was not given to you to do. That was given to me to do. You shall not kill. Because I am the one who gives life, and I am the one who takes life. So the sixth plague was coming against beast, the cattle, coming against man in boils. But now the 10th plague is going to come against man, is going to come against beast, and it's going to come in death. Because you will understand that I am the one that will give life, and I am the one that will take life. You will not serve another idol. No medicine is going to help you now, because you are going to see that dead body, the corpse lying next to you in the bed when you wake up in the morning. That person's life will be taken from them, and there will be a corpse there. And you will understand clearly throughout the whole of Mitzrayim that you will not raise up another idol and say that it is the one who's going to give you life. Because there is no one like I am. And that is what he's making very clear when he is revealing all of this. So then the Father took me on a little journey while I was busy with this, as he was putting all of this together. He took me on a journey of understanding, where he said, now, if this is the 6th and man was created on the 6th day of creation, let's go and have a look in the book of Revelation, what happens in terms of 6. So, I don't know why he wanted me to go have a look at this, but I am just going to be obedient to give you what he gave me. And he said, go look at the 6th seal. Because remember, 6 is going to be looking at the fact that this is the number of man. And he is on this last plague. He is showing you that on the 6th day of creation, he created man, and they were to subdue the earth, and they were to have authority over all the creeping creatures of the earth, not to worship them, not to bow down to them, not to make an idol out of them. And at the end of the day, man is not going to make an idol out of man either. Man's not going to bow down to man, because man is to subdue the earth, and there is only one creator, and that is the I Am. And we are to serve Yahuwah alone. And this is when he said, so let's go look and see on the 6th seal. So now we go and we look at the 6th seal, because he said there are 3 different, there's 3 different, there's seals, there's trumpets, and then there's bowls. And so there's different judgments taking place, and then there's his wrath, which is the bowls. And he wanted me to look at all the ones that pertain to the number 6, because the number 6 is the number of man. And so you see, man is the one that always wants to raise itself up, and that is what we will understand by the 10th commandment. And so we have a look and we see Revelation chapter 6 from verses 12, and it says, and I looked, and when he opened the 6th seal and saw a great earthquake come to be, and the sun became black and sackcloth and of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of the heavens fell on the earth as the fig trees drop its unripe figs, being shaken by a strong wind. Now understand, this is when the Father is showing himself as the great I Am, the creator of the heavens. You cannot, I am the one who gave you the stars, I am the one who gave you the moon, I am the one who gave you the sun, I am the one that's given you all these luminaries in the heavens for my appointed times, and what have you done? So now I'm going to allow you to see who I am, so that you may worship none other but me. And the stars of the heavens fell on the earth, and the stars of heaven fell on the earth as a fig tree drops its unripe figs, being shaken by a strong wind. And the heaven departed like a scroll, being rolled up. Every mountain, island was moved out of its place. Now understand, who created the mountains? Who created the islands? Who created all these things? Father is the one. Who is going to flatten a mountain? Who is going to flatten a mountain? So this is when he is revealing to mankind who he is. Just like now, on the 10th plague, he is revealing, I am the one who gives life, and I'm the one who takes life. And the sovereigns of the earth, and the great ones, and the rich ones, and the commanders, and the mighty, and every slave, and every free one, hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him sitting on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. So do you see? This is when now even the great sovereigns of the earth that think that they were the ones that were in control of everything, the ones that now control mankind, the ones that now dictate and make us slaves. They have enslaved us in their things that they are bringing upon us. They enslave us with their systems. They enslave us with their pandemics, their plandemics. They enslave us with everything. They have enslaved mankind to serve them, to enrich themselves, and to have power and dominion. And they have enslaved us. But the Father, just like this Pharaoh, is about to reveal himself to them, just like he was going to reveal himself to this Pharaoh who made himself to enslave his people, to be this God over the people, and to say, they bow down to me and I will control them and they will serve me and I am the one that's going to be enriched by them. They will build my empire. And this is what these sovereigns of the earth are doing right now, building their empires at our expense. And we are the slave trade that they are using, and they will use and discard and snuff the people out and kill them off, because this is what they do. But the Father is going to reveal himself on the 6th seal. Then we go have a look at the 6th trumpet. So we go look at Revelation chapter 9. Now in Revelation chapter 9, from verses 13, it says, and the 6th messenger sounded. So these are now the 6 trumpets. So there's 6 seals, there's 7 seals, and there's 7 trumpets. Now at the 6th trumpet. So at the 6th trumpet sound, I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden slaughter place, which is before Eluah, saying to the 6th messenger, who had the trumpet, released the 4 messengers, those having been bound at the great river Euphrates, and the 4 messengers, those having been prepared for the hour, the day, the month, the year, which released to kill 1/3 of mankind. So there comes your spirit of death again, to be able to kill mankind, who now wants to be in charge of this earth, because they have raised themselves up to say, we dictate and we are the gods of our own lives. We dictate what needs to be done on this earth. We don't want to bow our knee to the great I am. No, we are the gods of our own lives. And so the 4 messengers that were released to kill 1/3 of mankind, and the number of the armies of the horsemen, and 200 million, and I heard the number of them, and this is how I saw the horses in the vision, and those who sat on them, having breastplates of fiery red and hyacinth blue and sulfur yellow, and the heads of the horses were like the heads of lions, and of their mouths came fire and smoke and sulfur, and 1/3 of mankind was killed by these 3 plagues, by fire and smoke and sulfur which came out of their mouths, for the authority of the horses is in their mouth and their tails, for their tails are like serpents having heads, and with them they do harm. And so here we go. The 6th plague is going to be, the 6th trumpet sound is going to kill 1/3 of the population of the earth. And then you got the 6th bowl of wrath. And so then we go to Revelation chapter 16 from verses 12. Revelation chapter 16 from verses 12, and it says, and the 6th messenger poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates. Now imagine, we just had the great river Euphrates, where these 4 angels bound at the bottom of the river Euphrates is coming forth. And now again, it is the 6th messenger poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and it was dried up. So you see, how are these men going to come out? How are these four beasts going to come out? How are these 4 angels that have been bound going to come up? They're going to be, it's going to dry up. And we've seen some videos on YouTube where they've heard strange sounds coming from areas where the river Euphrates is totally dried up, and now they have found these caves and they're hearing strange sounds. So what is the time that we find ourselves in? What is the time? And it says, and its water dried up in order to prepare the way of the sovereigns from the east. And I saw coming out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, 3 unclean spirits as frogs, for they are spirits of demons, doing signs which go out to the sovereigns of the entire world to gather them to the battle of the great day of Yahuwah the Almighty. So did we just read that there was going to be a battle of these millions that are going to come? We just read it. See, I'm coming as a thief. Blessed is he who is staying awake and guarding his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. So we need to be the children of the light. And so we have a look and we see that, you see, the sixth plague again was judgment of the boils, like I said, just like the 10th plague, the judgment of the boils was against man and beast. The 10th plague is against man and beast, but this time it's death. The Father is going to bring death. And so we understand with the sixth command, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder. And right now, what do the sovereigns of the earth do? Murder, kill, steal. This is what they do. They are killing in order for them to be able to do what they got to do on the earth, because this is what they do. And so we continue to read Exodus. And so in Exodus 11, let's continue to read. Let's just go back there. And now he turns around and he says in verses 7, he says, okay, we read from verse 6, and there shall be a cry throughout the land of Mitzrayim, such as never been, ever shall be again. But against any of the children of Israel, no dog shall move its tongue against man or against beast, so that you know that Yahuwah makes distinction between Mitzrayim and Israel. So here we see that Abba will have a distinction between those that are his from those that are not. So the question is, whose camp are you in? Whose camp are you in? Because you need to be in a camp of one who's going to preserve life. And they need to have the light that shines. Or you're going to be in a camp of one that has death. Because it's about self, and self is still on the throne. Or are we in a camp of where there is the light? Where Father is the one that we are going to follow, because Father is the one that is the light that is there. If the Father is not the one that gives the light, then the Father is not the one that is going to protect us from the death. Because at the end of the day, it's only the Father of light that can protect us from the spirit of death. Because it's the darkness eventually that will bring the death. And so the Father is going to bring a set apartness now. He's going to set apart people that are his from those that are not. So he's separating the sheep from the goats, and he will separate the sheep from the sheep. Because there are many that worship him with their lips, but their hearts are far from him. Please hear me when I say to you, they worship him with their lips, but their hearts. So do you understand why it is the issue of the heart that the Father is dealing with? Their hearts are far from him. So you can have people that might not even be walking the fullness of truth yet, but their hearts are hungering and thirsting for righteousness with the Father. And the Father is the one that will reveal truth to them. Because believe me when I say to you, if you are crying out to the Father for truth, he will open your eyes and he will reveal the truth in his appointed time. But he wants hearts that are searching after him. And so we continue to read in verses 8, and it says, and all these servants of yours shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, get out, you and all the people at your feet. And after that I go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in great displeasure. But Yahuwah said to Moshe, Pharaoh is not going to listen to you, in order to multiply my wonders in the land of Mitzrayim. And Moshe and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh. However, Yahuwah strengthened the heart of the Pharaoh, and he did not let the children of Israel go out of the land. So, you know, the Father can bring the word, and the Father can bring the word, but it is up to the person whether they are going to have ears to hear. And yet, at the end of the day, we will turn around and say, but it's the Father that hardened the heart. We must understand the Pharaoh's heart was already wicked before the Father even hardened any heart. Because the Father is giving him opportunity constantly to repent, and the Father knows that he's not going to repent. He's not going to bow his knee. How many of the Pharaoh's servants have now started to bow their knee to Moses and started to look up to Moses and started to see Moses as great, started to understand that Moses was sent by the Father in order to be able to set these people free. But the Pharaoh would not bow. No matter what was being done in 9 plagues that this Pharaoh has seen, he has not acknowledged Abba Yahuwah as the great I Am. The one that revealed himself to Moses right in the beginning in Exodus, when we started in Exodus, when he revealed to him as I Am. As he revealed himself to him as Yud Hey Vav Hey Yahuwah, our creator of heaven and earth. There is no one like him. There is no one like him. No one. And he's going to reveal himself that there will be no one like him. And in the future time, he will once again bring back the plagues for people to understand that there is no one like him. And that is what man will know. So in Exodus so now we have a look and we see as we come to the end of Exodus chapter 11. And now we are to compare this to the 10th command. So what is the 10th command? The 10th command is in Exodus chapter 20 verses 17 says, you do not covet your neighbor's house, you do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor. So beast and man again. And so at the end of the day, this is tied in to the 10th plague, which is death. So let us look at a story where we see where death came in because we coveted our neighbor's goods. So if we look at King David, what did King David do? King David was now supposed to be out on the battlefield where kings were out on the battlefield, and instead he was at home enjoying a time of leisure. And the next minute he went and he looked at a woman bathing. And as he continued to look at her bathing, he started to lust for what was not his. He started to lust and crave for what was not his. He started to covet what was not his. Until he got what he wanted. And after he got what he wanted, what did he do? He murdered Uriah, her husband, in order for him to have what he wanted. So if we sit and we think, but where does this tie in? Where does thou shalt not covet your neighbor's good tie in with death? Because at the end of the day, if we look and see, what did David do? So many times in our lives, we covet what is not ours. We covet what other people have. We covet what even the anointing upon other people's lives. And because that is not, we are not willing to pay the price that they got. Remember, the anointing is not an anointing that's come upon that person's life because it's just the Father's just going to decide to put the anointing. The anointing is the olive. It's the olive oil. And that person has become an olive oil that has had to go through an olive press. So how can you covet the anointing on somebody else's life when you have not been willing to pay the price that person's been willing to pay in order to have that olive oil that is running through their lives? But yet, man wants to covet. And then what happens? Covetousness eventually leads to jealousy that eventually will start to kill the person with the mouth. Because then we start to speak up against the people. Because at the end of the day, if we look at the deep root of what is there, is it because maybe we are covetous of what the person carries that we do not have? Are we covetous to want something that we do not have? And so we go to whatever lengths to get it. So now we look at another story in the Bible that we say, yes, but Natalia, how did you come up with this? We look at another story. And now we look at King Saul. So King Saul wanted to put his armor on David. So he wanted David to go. David was going to go and kill Goliath. And now King Saul says, no, look, you know what? Why don't you take my armor? But King Saul was a huge man. David was still a young man. And he did not have the stature of King Saul. Clearly he did not. Because in comparison to his brothers, he did not have the stature of his brothers. But he goes and he stands before Goliath and he kills Goliath. And now, songs start to get sung. David kills the 10,000, but Saul kills the 1,000. David kills the 10,000, but Saul kills the 1,000. And now, what happens in King Saul's heart? King Saul starts to get upset about this. And now he's coveting what David has. David comes to play the harp for him because eventually, because of his own covetousness, because of his own jealousy that was in his life, he was being tormented by the demons. And now David is standing there having to play the harp for him. And while he's playing the harp, King Saul throws him with a spear to want to kill him. And from that day forward, King David had to run for his life because King Saul wanted to kill him. Because King Saul wanted what David had, but couldn't get. And so he thought, if he destroys David, then everybody will follow him again as king. But now they're starting to raise up David, and they're starting to look to David. So do you see how easy it is for us to be able to kill people with our mouths? Because if we really look deep within our hearts, could it be that maybe there is a covetousness? There is a jealousy because we covet what that person has that we don't have. And we so desperately want what that person has that we actually don't even realize that we go into covetousness in our own lives till eventually it becomes a bitter root within us. That eventually becomes envy and jealousy. And this causes nothing but death. And so then we get to the end of the matter, which is, people have coveted so much to be like Yahuwah, to be a God unto themselves, that now they are the ones that become the great people of the earth. And now we covet power and all the glory and all the fame and the fortune. We covet it to such a degree that it's going to bring nothing but death in our lives in the end. And how many women and men of Yahuwah have sold their lives to the enemy because of this covetousness in them. That they covet the things of the world. They covet power, fame, fortune. And what those same people that teach us to covet, they themselves are covetous people. And most of this movement that came with the name it, claim it, frame it, it's all covetousness at the end of the day. Put a picture of the house that you want. Put a picture of the car that you want. Start to speak it. Start to see it. Your neighbor's now got a car. Your neighbor's now got a house. And now you covet that thing for yourself. And you will continue to name it and claim it and frame it until you have it. What on earth have we been taught? Nothing but covetousness. And that is why it has brought death. Death in the spiritual life of these people that have become so covetous now that they have totally fallen away from the ways of the Father because they've become gods unto themselves. And the Father will hand them over to what they want. And at the end of the day, he says, we are not to love the world or love anything that is in the world, but these people just want to covet more of what the world has to give them as opposed to laying down more. And so that is why in the 10th plague is tied to the 10th command, where you shall not covet. Because at the end of the day, here was the Pharaoh coveting what these Israelites had. They were giving birth. They were multiplying. How is it possible that these women just keep giving birth and they see how they're increasing and multiplying? And even though he's putting them through all this hardships, why are they still blessed? He coveted what they had until he brought death to their children in the river Nile. So now, their firstborn child, every firstborn child, every firstborn slave woman, every firstborn cattle is going to die. As the Father says, I will show you who I am. You are not me. Life and death is in my hands. I give life, I take life. But you took it into your hands. Now I show you what I will do. Thank you, Abba Father, for your word, my King. Thank you, Father, for the mighty revelation that only you can give, my Father. My Father, I humble myself before you, because there's no wisdom of myself that can come when you open up your word. But you are the one in these days that is going to open up your word for people to understand our wicked hearts and where we have been and what we have learned and what we do, in order for us to humble ourselves before you and say, Father, please will you help us? We have learned many traits and many ways that is really not pleasing to you. And you are bringing us to a place of where we need to humble ourselves under your mighty hand, knowing that you are the only one that is the deliverer that comes to deliver us, so that we learn to trust in you and you alone. Abba Yahuwah, you in this hour are going to need to do the work that we cannot do. You are truly the one that is going to reveal yourself to your people in these last days. And all we need to do is put our trust and faith in you, and you are the one that is going to be able to do what needs to be done. You gave these people favor. You gave them favor. You used even the wealth that was there of the wicked. You used the wealth of that which was there, but you wanted it to be able to be used for you, to be given to you. And yet, how many times we are not in that frame of mind. We are not in that place. Everything at the end of the day comes back to you. You wanted to reveal yourself to these people for them to understand that there is no one but I am. We are not our own gods. We are not gods at all. We are servants on this earth, and we have been put here to serve one King and one Abba Father. And Father, once again, you are going to show yourself strong. You are going to reveal yourself. You are the light, and you will reveal the light even in the darkest of darkest places. And that is what you have showed me. The darkness comes in through so many different ways. The darkness comes in from when we've experienced this darkness that will be all around us, darkness that comes in because of death, because of decay, because of destruction. And so many of your people are in darkness because of the lies that they have been taught and the lies that they have been fed. And my prayer today is, Abba, come and set your captives free. Just as you came to set your people free. Abba Yahuwah, you have given us Yahushua HaMashiach to come and set us free. Set us free, Father, I pray. Set your captives free. Set us free, spirit, soul, and body, where we are captured, maybe in our mind, maybe in that soul man, the mind, the will, and the emotions, where we are still bound and enslaved in those areas. Set us free. Set us free where maybe we are still bound in our body. In our body we are bound. Set us free. Set us free in that area where we still need to be able to become spiritually more mature and standing with you. Set us free, my Father, I pray. Come and set your people free. You are the deliverer that has come to set the captives free. And as you came and revealed yourself to Moshe, come and reveal yourself to your people in this hour so that they may see you in visions and dreams, and come and reveal yourself to them. Do your supernatural things as you did in that shop where you switched on the light even when there was load shedding. There was light because you are the light, and you will reveal yourself as light in people's lives. And the light will have to extinguish the darkness. So let there be light. Let there be light and extinguish the darkness, I pray. In Yeshua's name. Amen.